Welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies. Folks, you guys know at KPFT, we have a board of directors. And what I'm starting to do, and Ted is going to be our first, is to introduce you to the board of directors and tell you where we are trying to take this station. How are we trying to improve the station? How are we trying to make things better for the entire Houston metropolitan area and all the areas that we cover as a radio station, not only on air, but over the internet. So with us today, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to brother Ted Weisgal. Ted, how are you doing today?
Doing fine. Thank you. I hope you are well.
I am doing well, Ted. Anyhow, Ted, one of the reasons that I wanted to get you on is that you've been a longtime member of KPFT, a longtime activist in the community, Robert's Rule guy who wrote a book on Robert's Rule, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to first ask you to introduce yourself to our audience and let them know what you're all about.
Well, for 32 years, I ran a lifelong learning program here in Houston called Leisure Learning Unlimited. I sold it, and 4 years later, it went out of business. A lot of people ask me whatever happened to leisure learning. Before that, I was a campus activities advisor at the University of Houston for 5 years. And before that, I got arrested at San Francisco State University. I was an outside agitator from San Jose State. I got arrested for unlawful assembly, failure to disperse, and disturbing the peace. It was part of a 5-month-long strike that was successful and led to the creation of the only College of Ethnic Studies in the United States. I participated in the celebration 2 years ago that marked the college's 50th anniversary. Black studies, Mexican American studies or Latino studies, Asian studies, Middle Eastern studies, those are all parts of the college. And I think I know it led to my being hired to work at the University of Houston. I spoke with one of the key players in all of that. Her name is Deborah Danberg. She was a student body vice president, but she ultimately became a member of the Texas legislature. And she said to me last week, in reminding me as to why I got hired at U of H, and it was because I stood up for student rights.
There you go. I like the idea that you stand up for student rights, and seems like you're all around activist for some time now, which is a core of what we do at KPFT 90.1 FM Houston. Anyway, how did you? What turned you on to KPFT?
My sister. We both grew up in Los Angeles, and my sister, who wouldn't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance when she was in junior high and high school, and ultimately quit school because of the harassment she experienced. She knew that there was KPFT in Houston, and she asked me, "Why aren't you involved?" She had been a volunteer answering the phones during fund drives at the Los Angeles station, KPFK, and she told me I ought to be involved with KPFT. So when I saw an article in the Houston Peace News announcing a meeting at Rice University's Student Center and talking about a change in the bylaws and a new day for KPFT, I attended and participated in meetings for about a year. And those meetings led to the rewriting of the Pacifica bylaws. And I was elected to the board in 2001 and have subsequently stayed involved ever since, either on the board or when you have to take a year off because of term limits. I've been on committees. A couple of months ago, I did a workshop for all of the boards across the country on a format just like this one, not just like a Zoom format. I did a workshop on Robert's Rules of Order for all 5 Pacifica stations.
Now, let me stop you right there. You've written a book on Robert's Rules, right?
Robert's Rules for Kids and Big Kids, a guide to teaching children of all ages the basics of parliamentary procedure. It begins in kindergarten.
Yeah, well, it's well from our meetings that these procedures can become difficult and cumbersome at times, especially if you're like me who are not completely fluent in them. Anyhow, let me ask you this: KPFT has just sold its building. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it was a necessary thing. We had mold problems, internal problems with the building at 419 Lovett. It, according to experts that we brought in, and I actually chaired a committee to go through this process, we brought in some mold experts, and they said it would cost about $100,000 to remediate the station, the address being 419 Lovett Boulevard. So the building was sold for $1 million, and I was informed at our most recent board meeting a week ago that our station is getting $800,000 of that $1 million, or thereabouts, and the rest will be going to the Pacifica Foundation.
Now, speaking about all of that, so in effect, that getting that. Not having to spend that $100,000 and getting some funds for a new building, we can have a pretty nice and solid rebirth right here in Houston in new locations, right?
And going back to the birth, there were a lot of people involved, Deborah Danberg being one, who was involved in getting the original station off the air in 1970, 3 years before I came to Houston. So what we need is people to get involved as committee members, and they can go to the website to find out more about it, kpft.org. But yeah, we can rebirth this radio station the same way we did, but we need a lot of help.
Now, it's interesting because let's make it clear. In as much as we don't have a building right now, KPFT, my show, Politics Done Right, and many other shows, we all are on a server that we give all fresh material, and it's still played live on air. So in as much as we don't have a studio right now, everybody's place and everybody with the show right now, they're giving you good material through their own studios. Now, when that new building comes to fruition, which is we expect to be sometime this year, it will be a new blast for everybody to see. So, folks, what Ted is going to make clear as well is there is a good reason to get involved, right, Ted?
KPFT is the station that is not beholden to large corporate sponsors. And as a result, for instance, the war between the Russians and the Ukrainians, you never hear the kind of money that is being made by the weapons manufacturers on all sides of that issue. On KPFT, we are not beholden to weapons manufacturers or anybody else, so we can tell the unvarnished truth.
That is so, I think that is one of the most important statements made thus far, Ted, because what folks can understand now is at KPFT, we don't owe advertising to anybody. So the only people that really that we are really enthralled to are the supporters of the station. So let me ask you before I get into how folks can support the station, et cetera. Where do you think right now, KPFT used to be only radio. There's a lot that we'd like to move forward to support other platforms. Are you seeing that those are the plans that we have, not only to move into radio, but online ventures, and maybe, who knows, certain other things that having a new venue will support?
Well, you might want to correct me if I'm wrong about this, but my thinking is it's people talking into a microphone or music being played by whatever kind of a player it is. The bottom line is the platform that it goes out into the universe on, whatever that is, it really doesn't matter. The bottom line is you have human beings talking to one another. You have music being played. So the technological side is a bit beyond my area of expertise.
Brother Ted, I am so glad you answered the question that way. And let me tell you why. You mentioned the most important factor. It's about having the people. It's about having humans involved in the station and being a part of whatever we do. We will determine, or not, we all will determine what the best platform at that time to distribute it. Is this best on an FM station? Is this best streaming? Is this best video? Is this best audio? So you are so right. The most important thing is having human beings become a part of the station and continue to support what we do, correct?
Correct. And I never really thought, and I don't think anybody else did, about the idea that, we need a transmitter. And one of the reasons why that $1 million that we got for selling 419 Love It was to pay off the Empire State Building where the transmitter in New York City now resides. The bottom line is that transmitter used to be on the towers of the World Trade Center. And we never thought that, that building is going to collapse and we're going to have to find a new home and it's going to have to be quick and it's going to cost us a lot of money. Maybe we shouldn't be on an FM dial. I don't agree with that, but you have to factor in that transmitters cost you on a monthly basis a lot of money. Not as much here in Houston, where I think we have a transmitter out in far northwest Houston. Mm-hmm. But in New York, it's on the top of the Empire State Building. It costs us money every month. And we want to keep all 5 Pacifica radio stations on the air, or at least that's the decision that the people on the national board, including the host of this program today, Egberto, is on. So that's not my call. That's somebody else's.
Well, you know what? It's let me just qualify that it's everybody's call. We are a family at KPFT. We are a family at Pacifica, and we go through all we go through everything families go through, including growth. So we are growing our stations, and we want to ensure that all folks are participants in the station, whatever city you're in, whatever state you're in, because like Ted said, the human beings, what matters, and the form of the technology used to get it to your ears, to get truth to your ears, it's all over, something that we'll do. So Ted, in closing, give us a little closing statement. Let us know what you'd like to see our community do to enhance this station and to ensure that we can continue telling truth to power.
Well, off the top of my head, I can think of 3 things that people should do. Number 1, obviously right now they're doing it, and that is to listen to KPFT, either 90.1 or our HD channel. And with that, there's a 10-second, I think, delay. So when you flip to that station, there's going to be silence. So the average person who might just be running up and down the dial may not realize that there are 2 options right now when you listen to KPFT. The second thing is to contribute. You can contribute your time, and membership in this organization is available for people who just volunteer their time. That's what the bylaws say. Or you can contribute money. The minimum is $25 a year to become a voting member and thus eligible to run for the local station board. And that is what people will be doing later this year as my term ends. So you can be on a committee, and then you can eventually, if you have that desire, you can become a programmer. But those are the 3 ways. There's a 4th, and that is to promote the radio station. I've stood on some bridges over downtown Houston with a banner promoting Democracy Now!, which airs every weekday at 7 a.m. for an hour. And you can, eventually, I hope soon, we will get bumper stickers again, and you'll be able to promote the station just by driving your car or parking it in a prominent location and not wasting fossil fuels. But you can volunteer in a variety of ways, and we need help. It's not just the 24 members of the local station board or the 22 members of the national board. We need people involved.
Ted Weisgal, a board of director on the local station board of KPFT 90.1 FM. Thank you so kindly for all that you do for the station. Thank you so kindly for how you promote the station. And thank you just for being Ted. You have a wonderful day, and thank you for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you very much.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.